Hello and welcome back to this class. So in this class we're going to be learning how to securely sign up or sign in a user in a mobile application using Firebase Auth. So for us to do that, we need to import a few things. So we're going to import Auth, and also we're going to import DB coming from our config file. So we go to config slash Firebase config. We also need to import addoc from Firebase Firestore and collection from Firebase Firestore. And also we need to import create user with email and password from Firebase Auth. Okay, since we already have a form here, as you can see we have a form here already with fields for email and password. Okay, so and that's how we got this state here that you can see. Now the next thing we have to do is we create a function to be able to handle this process. So I'm going to say constant. The function name will be handle login or sign up rather. Handle sign up, and this is going to be a callback function, and it's also going to be an async because we want it to run in the background. Then we also need to have a loading indicator here so that we can know when the activity is happening. So I'm going to have is loading and set is loading. And the initial state will be false because we don't want to show the activity indicator except something is happening. So the initial state will be false. Right. So after doing this, the next thing we have to do here is create another constant. We call this one current user, which is going to be await, and then we create user with email and password. So the first thing this takes is auth, followed by email and password. After that, we wrap everything in the try catch. So we try and then we catch any error. So in this try part, we're going to have constant doc, which will be await, then we call on addoc. Addoc will give us collection, and in the collection we are going to locate the DB and the DB name, which in this case is going to be users. Also, we're now passing an object of the user information like their email address or their name, their other credentials, except the password. We don't want to pass in the password here because the password gets hashed before it reaches the database. So here we are simply going to say we want to save email as email, and since our form only have two fields as email and password, we don't want to save the password. We can also save something called the UID. That's a unique identifier for the user, and this UID is going to be current user dot uid. Okay, and if this process was successful, let's check with the if statement. Say if doc Okay, let's not do this. So if this happens, before we do this here, right, in this try catch, we have to set this loading to true here, because we need to see the activity indicator when we are trying to save this information on the database. So if this happens successfully, we simply want to alert the user using alert on React Native. So we say alert.alert, then we simply pass in a success message here. And this will say what? Account created successfully. After that, we want to set this loading to false, because once the account is created, we don't want to show the activity indicator anymore. And if the account is created also, we have to import something here. We're going to import router, use router from expo router. So when we import router, we simply assign it here constant. We assign it to another type of routing, constant router is equal to use router. So if this happens successfully, we simply want to word router dot replace tabs. That means if this account was successfully created, we simply want to take the person to this screen called tabs. That is the main screen of the app. And then we set it loading to false. And in case of an error, we simply pass in another alert here that will tell the user an error occurred. We can pass in an error message here. Simply say an error occurred. Try again. And we still set this loading to false. Okay. Alright. So now let's hook up this function to our touchable opacity and try it. Meanwhile, there's something else we need to do. We have to go to our database and make sure we have set up an authenticator there. So here I'm going to call the on-press untouchable opacity, and it's going to be handle sign up, which is this function here, handle sign up. All right. So what we have to do now is we have to go to our database here, Firebase console rather. So we go to our console and we have to do a setup there so that we will be able to allow people sign up with email and password. So it's very important to do the setup. You come to authentication here in your console, then we get started, and then we'll select an authenticator, a sign-in provider from any of these. So for the sake of this class, we're going to be using this email and password. So I'll simply just select it here and save. Okay, so let me refresh my app again, then we attempt it. All right, so here in this part that says create account, I'm going to pass in an email, mike at gmail.com, and then I'm passing a random password. So for this password, in the input field, we're supposed to have something called secure entry because someone should not see when we type in our password. So in this sign up here, in the text input for password, I'm simply going to pass in another property called secure entry, and this will be true. So that way when we're typing our password, it doesn't show. So I'll just type in a password now. You can see that one. Good. So before we do the final one, here on this text that says sign up, we want to make sure we have an activity indicator there showing us that something is happening. So I'm going to simply say it's loading. We want to see an activity indicator here. From React Native, and the activity indicator is self-closing. So we simply pass in the properties like size and color. Okay, then here we're going to pass in the other part of the condition. So this is supposed to be a question mark. So if it's loading, show us an activity indicator on the text. That's what this means. So let me quickly indent here. Alright, so now we can try it. If I hit this, we should see an activity indicator. Okay, let me refresh again. Alright, so here I'm simply going to pass in another email. Then pass in a random password. Oh, this is it. Oh, says what? Email already used. So there's probably something I didn't do correctly here. Okay, so let's check our database and see if we actually have an email there. So you see, we actually were able to sign up. So the problem now is the navigation. So let me look into that. Why is it not navigating from here to the screen where it needs to? Okay. Let's move this up one bit. I'm going to refresh and then we'll try again. Okay, I think I was over clicking then. So account created successfully. but the route, it says the route. Okay, it says the route is not correct, which means the problem is coming from here. It says can't find tabs. Okay, let's try this. So we want to go tabs slash home. So we have a route near as home here. So we want to go to tabs and then go to home. So let's try that again. Refresh. Sign up. So you see that? We have successfully logged in into our app. Sign up rather. I was successfully signed up into this app. So you see now that we can view the main app. Also, if we go to our DB here, you are going to see that we have a new collection called users. So this is the email I just signed up with. So if I go to the DB, you are going to see that we have a collection called users that was just created from that sign up activity. So you see that, right? We have users. And when you click on it, you are just going to find that email address and the UID. Okay, so that's for sign up. Now let's look at how we can sign in. So we go to, let me close all this. So when I'm signing in, also we're going to import sign in user. Oh, why can't I see that option? Okay, I know what to do. So here on sign up, this is what we want to use. So I'll copy this, but this just edit it. But here we don't want to create account. We want to sign in with email and password. So let me see if I can write that. So we want to sign in with email and password. Yeah, that is it. We want to sign in with email and password. We're also going to import auth from config. We already have the state here. I'm also going to just retrieve this loading indicator here also. So I'll indent. Okay. So now we are going to have a function called handle sign in. Which is going to be an async callback function. So it's going to be an async because we want it to run in the background. So here we simply we set is loading. No, we wrap everything in try catch. Then we set is loading into true here because we want to know when something's happening. Then after doing that, we can await, and then we await signing with email and password. And this also takes auth, email, and password. And if this is successful, what do we want to do? We simply want to, okay, we need router. I'm going to import use router from export router, and then reassign it here. So if this is successful, I simply want the router that replace tabs. So we want to replace tabs slash home. We want to go to the home page in tabs. Then we simply want to alert them. So we call on alert. Then we say success. Then we pass in login successful. Set is loading to false. And if there's an error, we want to catch it here. Alert. And then we say error, sign in failed, or failed to sign in. Okay, so let's see if we're on track by patching this function here in our touchable opacity called onPress, and then I call the function handle sign in, and then we wrap this in an activity indicator so that we know when something is happening. So I'm going to simply say is loading, simply return an activity indicator. Which is self-closing, and we'll pass in the properties like size and also color. So I'll indent again. Okay, so let's try that out. We're on sign in page now. So I'll pass in one of those emails we used to sign up. Let me refresh first. Okay, I'll do that right now. Pass in the password. So I need to also set secure entry here. Here, I pass in secure entry to true. So you see that? We have successfully logged in again. So that is how to securely log in a user with email and password using Firebase Auth. I'll see you in the next class.